Welcome to Jim's review of the 2014 Lexus IS in the F Sport model. Now the F Sport model comes in a couple of different engine types, which is the 250 and the 350. The 2.5 V6 producing 204 horsepower and the 3.5 V6 which produces 306 horsepower. The one we're looking at here today is the IS 350. It's noteworthy that this is actually the basic model. So everything you're going to see on this vehicle is going to overwhelm you, as it did me, and really impress you to see how these vehicles come just in their basic form, standard equipment. Now we're going to start from the front, and you can see this very distinctive grille. This mesh grille that they've installed on this F Sport model is a really bold expression of this spindle grille. This is the latest in the lineup of the new spindle look that they're bringing into the Lexus lineup. Now here's something new in a Lexus first, which is the LED daytime running lights, this L-finesse design. It's been separated from the front headlight design. So this is a first for Lexus. They've also enhanced the headlamp washer with a nice chrome finish. Very nice touch. You'll notice on the front of these vehicles you have no fog lights built into them because of the large opening here. And this is actually not just for the look and to give it that aggressive look, but it's actually functional. The way they've designed it, it brings air in to cool the brakes because it's a higher performance braking system. And the same thing with the engine. It's designed with this big overly whelming grille to actually cool the engine a lot quicker. Now, as we talk a little bit more about what's different in this model versus the normal IS model, you'll see that it's got a very distinctive and unique wheel. It's based on the LFA. A lot of the design cues that you'll find on the F Sport are LFA inspired. So if you look at the wheel, this 5-spoke wheel that you see here, it's got a very strong resemblance to the LFA wheel. The LFA inspired mirrors, which you'll see on the side. As we work our way around the vehicle, you see the nice lines that flow from the front of the vehicle right to the back. And these lines are designed to actually channel wind in a certain way with the help of these little aerofoils you'll see on the side. And that basically channels the wind and creates these vortices on the side. These vortices are designed to actually keep the car more stable when it's driving at high speeds. It's the wind pressing against the side of the vehicle. They were also able to lower the coefficient drag to 0.28 now, which also presses this vehicle down when it's speeding up. It creates a lot more stability by also giving us better coefficient drag. So it's functional, produces better fuel economy and more stability. This is the achievement of these new designs. As we work our way along the top here, the new laser brazing that they've used has eliminated the little channels that you would normally see on the old model. More functional and a lot more strength, as does the rest of the laser welding. They've increased it substantially in this new model. So it gives it better rigidity, better safety. Now, one of the other things you'll notice when you capture that side profile of the vehicle is the offset wheels. You have a bigger wheel in the back. You have a 255 profile on these 18-inch wheels versus the 225 in the front. So it gives it a beefier look in the rear of the vehicle, which reflects the overall shape of the vehicle. So it actually widens as it gets to the back and it tapers towards the front. And that's why you have the wheels that correspond. You have the smaller ones in the front and the bigger ones in the rear. You'll also note that it has energy absorbing tinted glass. And the purpose of that is to filter out the UV rays. 90% to be exact on all the glass of this vehicle, with the exception of the front windshield, which actually filters out 100% of the UV rays. An excellent quality of the glass. Now, when it's time to refuel this beautiful vehicle, you won't be looking inside it for the gas cap release. You'll be coming outside directly to the lid here, the fuel lid, just pressing on it and it'll release. And you just press it again and it locks. Now, that will only work when the door locks are unlocked, not when they're locked. Now, you'll notice some of the smooth flowing lines that we talked about that start from the front of the vehicle and work their way right into the rear. So as we come beyond the rocker panel here, it comes right above the rear wheel. You can see how it flows into the rear tail ends. Same thing up here. This line flows right into the back. And then we see the L-finesse design carry right into the rear combination lamp here. Beautiful design, nice little touch. And you'll see the little scoop in the rear trunk rather that just kind of scoops its way up, almost like a natural spoiler built into the shape of the trunk. We have our dual exhaust in the rear, giving it a much sportier effect. We have a little release here, a little remote touch. We press it. Okay, it's part of our smart key operation. It can detect that I have the key inside my pocket and allows me to release it. Once we open the trunk, you can see that we have a generous amount of space in here, 10.8 cubic liters of space. And one of the things they did is when they re-engineered the new suspension, the multi-link suspension, that actually freed up a little bit more space in these wells, which created a much easier flowing trunk. As we make our way deep into the trunk, okay, we now have the 60/40 split rear seats, which is standard on this new IS 350 model. So on all the 350s, we have this 60/40 split as a standard feature. And it even has the little locking mechanisms in behind, so if you ever decide to valet the vehicle and you want to keep some of your belongings protected in the trunk, you can actually lock them from behind so no one can access them from inside the cabin. Now, if you ever happen to leave the key inside the vehicle and you forget it in there, you want to lock your car, the first thing that will happen is when you get out of the vehicle, out of habit, you'll be pushing the little button here to lock it, and you'll hear that alert sound. And it's basically telling you that you've left your key inside the vehicle. So you can't lock the key inside. You have to take it out of the car first, then it'll allow us to lock the car. When the battery runs out in these keys, there's actually emergency power built in, just behind the little L inside the key. So what we would do is we just simply push the little button that says push on the side. That allows us to slide out a real key. Once we slide this real key out, it allows us to open the door. So I've now entered the vehicle, presumably with a battery that no longer works in our key, and the emergency power that's built in behind the little L is designed so that you just hold it up near the start button at the top here. You press your foot on the brake while holding the key next to the little start button, and after 3 seconds we hit our little start button, and that starts our car. It's important I do this again, because every time I start this car, I just feel like this car is just coming to life. It is just amazing to watch. I can only tell you that it would give you such pleasure starting your car every day looking at that. Our LFA inspired 8-inch TFT LCD display cluster. Isn't that a beauty? Oh my, just look at that. Look at how it changes from normal mode to sport mode. That is something. And the whole dial actually moves over to give you a display of all the other details like the audio control, the information. And we'll look at some of that right now. So starting from the left-hand side here, we can see our fuel range. After we've refueled, we can see our eco indicator telling us when we're in eco mode if we want to watch that. Our tire pressure, monitoring all 4 of our individual tires. Our gear position if we want to watch that while we're driving. Now just to the right of that, we have our audio control where we can flip through all our different sources, AM, FM, our disc, USB 1, USB 2, Bluetooth, satellite, auxiliary, and AV. Okay, we have our information, which would give us a message if there was any issues that the vehicle computer was trying to tell us or alert us to, and our settings where we can do some customization. Okay, and back to the information. Once we're done, we hit the little page button right on the steering wheel again, and it rolls that ring right back to the left in the center, where we can now see the temperature display on the left and the fuel display on the right, with temperature on the bottom left and our odometer or our trip meters on the bottom right. Now you'll notice on the little odometer ring, which is the exterior part showing us the RPMs, when we hit the gas pedal hard, okay, you'll see a little ring actually, that a little needle that sticks right where your RPM peaked out. Take a look at that. Pretty sharp. Okay, and the ring's changing colors too, just telling you when it's getting into those higher RPMs. Now that is something exciting to watch while you drive your car. Unbelievable. Now if you take a look at this beautiful new center console design, they've got the cup holders joined near the back end here, and it's a much nicer design than the old IS, the outgoing model. Underneath here, we have 2 USBs now that are standard on the IS, and you also have the auxiliary port with a little charger for your phone inside there, and still ample room to store some wallet, keys, things like that. We have a little storage tray in the center here. Remember, this is the basic model, so it doesn't have the remote touch interface. It actually has the display audio controller here, which allows us to turn this from left to right while we make selections on the screen by pushing audio or menu or our back button. And we can just tap down on this whenever we want to make a selection on our main screen. So as we turn our little audio controller in the center here, you can see how it goes through all the different settings in our menu, from display to radio, media, climate, phone, and info. Now, starting with our setup screen, this is where we can push down on the audio controller, and it gets us into areas where we can do some customization. We want to push the back button, okay, which allows us to go back out to that main screen. The next one over is our display screen, which allows us to actually shut off the screen or go into the general setup here, and it tells us how we can either brighten the contrast or lower it. The back button takes us out again. We can continue to push the back button till we get right back out to this main screen. We have our radio screen where we can select our different stations that we've preset. Back out again. Then we have our media screen, and if we have a USB plugged in or an AV or any of these other different audio modes we have available to us, okay, we'd find those in the media, including our Bluetooth audio. Our climate screen allows us to come in here just to see what the climate control is doing, but our electrostatic switches would basically allow us to control it all from the main console area without having to go into the screen. We have our phone screen where we compare our phones or multiple phones, okay, and that's where we could control it all. And then we have our info screen where we can go in here and check things like our fuel consumption or our USBs that we have plugged in, USB 1 or 2. But this is where we have our average consumption, and it monitors it by the minute. Now the other thing we have here in the center console area is our drive mode select, where we can see the various drive modes. We have eco mode, we have our push, where we can press straight down on this for normal mode, or we have our sport or sport plus mode. And all we're doing by pushing any one of these different modes is telling the computer in the car the type of input we want it to give, or output rather, from the engine. And this is what the driver wants to do in the car, is always tell the vehicle how it wants it to perform. Now just below the drive mode select button we have our track off, where we can shut off our traction control, or our snow mode. So in the winter, contrary to what a lot of people tell you, even in the rear wheel drive models, you get great traction provided you have a nice snow tire. But in the all-wheel drive, you'd still have the option to flip into snow mode as well. And a nice snow tire is always recommended on the IS350. It's got lots of power, it's got a low profile tire, and you'll get much better grip in the winter with that nice winter tire. We have our beautiful short shifter with lots of detail, our red stitching carried right into the leather bag at the bottom of the shifter. And just above our shifter, we have our variable heated seats here, which again is a standard feature. So everything we're looking at on this model is an actual standard feature on the 2014 IS350. Now our signal indicator here has a new feature where it has an easy touch. You can just tap on it gently and it gives you a little triple blink when you want to switch lanes on a highway, and it shuts off by itself. If I push it a little bit harder though, it kicks into that normal mode where it would actually wait till you make the turn to shut off the signal. You can turn it off just by tapping it up gently. Now we can also twist this forward into the auto mode, which is where you probably want to leave it, and you never need to touch it again. We have sensors that can detect when it gets dark enough and the headlights will turn on automatically. Just above that we have an indicator for our parking lights and then our manual headlight on button. Now on either side of the steering wheel here we have our shifters just behind it, our paddle shifters. So on the left side we have our downshift, and on the right side where we have the plus sign is our upshift button. Now this LFA inspired steering wheel has a beautifully thick grip on it, and I just love the red stitching, how it carries throughout the entire steering wheel, even on the dash, paddle shifter, and the shifter in the center console area. It just flows throughout the whole car. Someone really did their job on the design of this vehicle because it is gorgeous. You'll also note that in all the F-Sport models, in the 250 and 350, there is no wood grain. They've got this beautiful new interior finish that resembles carbon fiber. It's on the inner door panels and even on the center dash area. Now, underneath the hood of this beautiful new model, we have the same 3.5 V6 we had last year. It's a direct injection, 306 horsepower. A slight redesign under the hood. One of the things they managed to do in the redesign was to make this vehicle lighter, okay? And they achieved their target of a 10% reduction in the overall weight. And this has achieved a lot of different things, from safety to performance. These are all things that they focus on when they wanted to redesign this model and make it more fun to drive. Okay, underneath we have our fire blanket, which we're accustomed to see in our Lexus, underneath our Lexus hoods. We have our protective cowl over the engine here that protects it against dirt and debris. We have lots of rubber seals around the entire engine area. And then inside the engine itself, you'll notice that everything is very easy to find. So they have everything labeled properly, and the things that you typically need access to a little bit more often are usually located around the sides. For example, our washer fluid, our relay and fuses here on the side, our brake fluid, our coolant fluid, our air filter. So everything's located, even our battery when we want to give someone a boost, everything's located around the edges, which makes it easy to access. Now, one of the other nice things they've borrowed from the new GS model and they've put into the new F Sport series in the IS is the sound generator. And you'll find it on the 250 F Sport model and the 350s. The sound generator is actually designed to give it a nicer growl when you start the engine. Now, I got my juices flowing. It's time to get this vehicle out on a track, and that's what our next part is going to be about. We're going to put this up against some of our competition and get it out on a track. Now I'm excited. So this is it. We get a chance to come out today and actually put the F Sport to the test on the track. Now this is an exciting day for me because Lexus claims they've actually built this car for track. The suspension, the design of the car, all the attributes, the bolstering of the seat in these F Sports, and I want to really feel it now and put it to the test through all these pylons that we're going to see here. We've set up the course so we can see how it performs around some of these hard turns. All right, so let's get started. This will be exciting. Okay, that was amazing. This car does everything and more. And I'll tell you, I have never ever driven a Lexus quite like this one. This is the F Sport, so it's definitely the best Lexus has to offer in this lineup. And after all the testing I've done here today, I can tell you without a doubt, watch out, this is the game changer.